God? I lost interest in him long ago. Just the other day, I was around someone who was up in age. They were a mature person, and we sort of were sharing some food together, some time together. And this older person said to me, they said, you would think that as you get older, that you would develop more of an interest with God. And then she said to me, but you know what? For me, it's just the opposite. As I've gotten older, and the older I get, the less interested I've gotten in God. When she told me that, she didn't mean it to be, but the words were so chilling. They were so sort of like, whoa, oh, wow, how could that be? And the whole time I'm just thinking, how awful. And really also thinking, for me, it's the opposite. Okay, the older I get, the more interested I've become in the things of God and in Him. And I really believe that as I get older still, that my interest in Him and in eternal things will continue to grow and grow and grow. So my experience and her experience are actually the opposite. And so the question becomes, well, how is it, if we are losing interest with God, how is it that we can change that? How can that be different? What if we are losing interest in God? What if we are losing interest in the things of eternity? What if, as we get older and older, as time passes, we have that same sentiment that she has, that her interest is going down and down and down? Maybe you once had a greater interest. Maybe you once had a great interest in God, and it's not there now. Or maybe you've never had much interest in God, and it's even less as you get older. How do we recover an interest in God if our interest is waning and going in the wrong direction? So that's a great question to ask. And I think that the scriptures answer that. Remember that whenever you have a problem, whenever you have an issue that's going on in your life, God is not sitting by saying, you should just, you're a lost cause, nothing like that. Instead, what God seeks to do when there's something going on in your life, such as losing interest in Him, He comes right beside you, knows exactly where you are, and then seeks to lift you out of the pit to where you need to be. Okay, so if you've lost interest in God, don't feel God's like condemning you, He's angry at you and all that. Just picture Him as coming right beside you, where you are, and knowing how to get you out of the pit, lifting you out of that lack of interest. He knows how to get you out of there. Okay, so what gets a person from disinterest to interest? What gets a person in the direction of losing interest to the direction of gaining interest? I believe there is a solution to that, and I believe it is the presence of God in your life. I think that once we have the presence of God in our life, in a deep way in our life, okay, our interest becomes great in God. It's that lack of His presence that produces a disinterest, okay? And so if His presence is distant from you, okay, then there's gonna be this sense of I'm not that interested, and I'm getting less interested. But if His presence is right there with you, if you can sense His presence, and He's right there near you, then your interest is going to be great. It's going to go in the other direction. It's going to get greater and greater still. Your disinterest in the things of God and eternity is going to go away. It's the nearness of His presence that will change your heart, that will change your mind, that will change your spirit, that will change your direction. So let me read to you a few words here from Psalm 73, where this solution, God's presence, is given to us as the solution for a lack of interest in Him and in the things of God and of the things of eternity. So look at these words with me, starting with verse 25 in Psalm 73. It says, Whom have I in heaven but you? And besides you, I desire nothing on earth. Okay, so this is a person who has interest. Okay, it's great interest. Okay, the writer of this song is saying, I don't desire anything on earth. I'm only interested in the things of God. Okay, so he's in that right state, the state we want to be in. He's not in the I don't care mode. He's not in the I'm not interested anymore mode at all. How did he get there? Okay, he says this in verse 28. So he says, but as for me, the nearness of God is my good. Okay, now let's take a look at that phrase again. The nearness of God is my good. All right, it is also not only his good, it is his solution. It is what is bringing about this great interest. It is the fact that God is near to him that is causing him to be very interested in God, so interested in God, he's not interested in the things of the world. He's in that direction. Okay, so it's the nearness of God that is the solution to that. Okay, so here's what you want to do. If you're in the pit of not being interested in God, if you're in that slope down away, lesser and lesser interest, if you're like that lady who said, boy, you'd be surprised, but as I got older, I'm getting less and less interested. If you're in that pit, what you want to do is to say, God, show me your presence. Show me your nearness. Be near to me. Come near to me. Because if you are in the presence of God, you will also start saying things like, whom have I in heaven but you, and besides you, I desire nothing on earth. You'll start saying things just like that. Or like this, the next verse. He says, verse 26, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. You will start saying things like that when God is near. When God is the nearness of God, okay? He is near to you. The nearness of God is your good. The nearness of God is your solution for this. What you can be doing and ought to be doing is crying out for the nearness of God. Crying out for the presence of God. Once you're in his presence, your interest will be great. Apart from his presence, your interest will wane. You want to have a heart-to-heart with God and say, I want your presence. I want your presence in my life and in my heart and in everything that I'm doing. You want to have a heart with God and say, I know that I can be very near to you. I can be near to you because Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins. He's made the way so that we can all come near to God. Nothing can keep us from the nearness of God. Our sin cannot keep us from the nearness of God. Our past can't keep us from the nearness of God. The devil can't keep us from the nearness of God. Our friends can't keep us from the nearness of God. Jesus Christ opened the door so that everyone can come near. So you want to say, okay, Jesus, I am coming near to you. I'm going to walk in this provision that you've made. I'm going to welcome you to the very deepest part of my life, the very deepest part of my heart, and I'm going to declare that your nearness is my good. And so have that heart-to-heart with God. Say, God, I don't want to be disinterested anymore, and I know the solution. It's having your presence near to me, made possible through Jesus Christ. So right now, I want your presence near to me. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are going in the other direction and getting less and less interested with God. You want to halt that. And you want to say, I know that if I was experiencing his presence, I wouldn't continue in disinterest. I would be turned around and I would be going the other way and become more and more and more interested in the things of God. You'll start declaring, like the psalmist said, I desire nothing on earth. You'll start declaring, as the psalmist said, God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And you'll start declaring that the nearness of God is my good, and that the nearness of God is everything to me. Have a heart-to-heart with God and say, your nearness is what I need. That nearness is going to change everything about your desires. So good to be with you today, and so good to be spending time in the Word of God with you each and every week, or how many times you're watching these videos, maybe a few a day. I would love it if you were. I want to encourage you to subscribe and to like the videos and to share the videos, and to remember that for every question, there's always an answer.